Hello friends, I have something I'm going to be playing around with today and I thought I would share the adventure with you guys. The fellows at Monster Maker who make monster clay, and if you're not familiar with monster clay, it's an oil-based clay that's non-sulfuric. It does not air dry, and in fact it doesn't dry at all. I don't even think you can bake it or anything because it's oil based, so it stays in this usable, workable state forever. And we use this to sometimes make masters for mold making. If you've seen the video with Bill and Nick sculpting cool masks, they made the masters out of this kind of clay. And after we did that video, we don't have any affiliation with Monster Makers, but after the video they emailed us and just thanked us for using their stuff in a video, and I was like, well, thank you for making an awesome product. And that was it for that. But recently they emailed me again and said they wanted to send me some samples. And this is all just normal monster clay that we've used before. There are different hardnesses. I haven't gotten to trial those, so I'm glad I have these to play around with just to get some more experience. But they have a new product.
What?
I don't know too much about this. It's in beta testing right now. They're currently calling it Cos Clay, and this is a kind of polymer clay. So if you're familiar with Sculpey, that's a kind of clay that you can sculpt. It's not like a two-part thing. It's not oil-based. It's just like a polymer clay that you sculpt, and it stays workable until you bake it. And then once you bake the Sculpey, then it becomes like a rigid material. Now this is kind of like that, but it's a polymer blend with apparently some kind of plastic. And they sent us some samples. These little curlicues here are made out of this Cos clay. And the unique property about this is that they are not rigid. They are flexible. And this is presumably after being baked. They just sent it to us. It looks like they just sculpted a little noodle, put around like a little, maybe a metal form, and then baked it. And like, I don't I don't know if I can break it. Maybe if I really I can't even get it to tear. This one feels a little stretchier, so I'm wondering, I see there's different densities. There's soft, firm, and extra firm. Like this one I can stretch a lot more. This one has more of a resistance, but that one, I don't know if you've ever like sculpted things when you're a kid and then proceeded to drop them immediately and have them shatter. Like this to me is amazing that it is a flexible material. Now this wouldn't be good for, you know, everything. Sometimes you want things to be rigid and not move, but just the ideas of how the cosplay community could use this is just really exciting. The first things we had come to mind are Mantis's antenna from Guardians of the Galaxy. Just have like a little prosthetic, or like maybe elf ears. That's the thing I'm interested in, is potentially not having to make a mold and cast of an ear and like cast it out of latex or silicone. I could just hand sculpt it out of this and just bake it. So today I'm going to play around with some of this stuff and see how it works. And it'll be a fun experiment. It looks like all I need to do to bake this is get it to a temperature of 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes per quarter inch of material. So if I had a thicker piece, then I'd want to put in there for longer. I assume if you had really thin pieces, maybe you would protect those with like a foil while you bake it the rest of the time. Kind of like you do with a turkey. Put some foil over the parts that are thinner so that it doesn't overbake in certain areas. But I don't have a big oven in the shop. I have a little toaster oven, so I'm going to try putting it in a toaster oven. Maybe that'll work.
Jump cut to you with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah. So my thought is I'm going to try making an elf ear prototype. One of the longer ones, like from World of Warcraft or any real fantasy series that has more than just the little nub extra on the ear, but more of a longer pointy one. And I have this wire. It's a aluminum wire. A lot of people use it for armatures, but I think this one was just called aluminum wire on Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same stuff. It's really flexible and it does hold its shape, but it's posable, and presumably you can keep bending it and it won't like work harden, I don't think. But anyway, so I think I'll make a little base out of this guy. I'm rounding over the tip of the ear so it doesn't have a potentially pokey metal bit. And then I guess just the bottom of it, I'll make some kind of stand so I can bake this. And it's gonna be in the toaster oven, so it's gonna have to go horizontal. So maybe I'll just kind of bend one end over like that. So that's how it'll set in the oven. But when I work on it, I can have it upright. Check the toaster oven, and this is about the maximum size I can fit in there. So I have all this extra material I just bent over. I do have this little metal tray that fits inside the toaster oven. It's not made to fit in there, so it just kind of floats on the bottom. But I think I can manage to kind of like weave this in here or potentially clamp it. I have a bunch of these little metal binder clips. And then it will be suspended in the oven at that height. And I checked, and it looks like it will fit right in the middle at that point, which is good to figure out now before I start sculpting on this. For the clay, I think I'm going to go with the softest. I think I figured out which is which. This lightest color I think is the soft one. It matches. So this is the most flexible one. And then this is the firm. And then this gray one in here is the extra firm. So I think I just want to go with the soft and see if it can support itself. And presumably you can mix these together. So if I wanted to like have the firm clay be more up around the wire and have the softer be down below to be more flexible, I guess you could do that, but I think I'm just going to keep it simple and go with the soft. Oh, one of the things they talked about that this could be used for is stop motion, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, includes stop motion characters, posable figures, just the idea that you can make like a little figurine and have it be actually posable and then go back to its shape, because it seems to want to return to that shape. I just think is really cool. All right, I'm gonna get sculpting. And here is what I have so far. I will say that working with lighter color clay and then rolling it all over a dirty mat, you will end up with a very fun colored clay. I think I picked up everything from like metal shavings to cat fur in here. But I will say that this was pretty easy to work with. I did have to kind of elasticize the clay first, so turn it into snakes and roll it out, and it gets a lot easier to work with. When you take out the container, it feels a little brittle, but once you roll it out a little bit, it becomes super easy. It does seem like it's having trouble supporting its own weight when it's just the clay, and this is the soft one, so I feel like without the wire support, this definitely wouldn't have held its shape. And maybe I should have used the firm instead of the soft, but we'll see how well this bakes on its own. It is a little lumpy still, but I think it's at a good state to do the test. I don't think I need to refine it any more than that. Here is my little holder. It's just the wire kind of looped around this rack and some more support wire woven in there, and it seems pretty sturdy. It does seem like any more weight and this wouldn't be able to keep its shape with just a wire up here and nothing down here. Well, let's see how this goes. So this is a little toaster oven we use for our tiny vacuforming, so it fits a tiny sheet of plastic in there. We got this from the thrift store, $8. Got it quite a few years ago too, so we've gotten a lot of use out of this guy. I've got the settings set to bake at 275, and I've got the timer turned all the way up. I guess I'm just gonna close this up and leave it. Here is the hopefully cured ear. I left it in the toaster oven for half an hour, and you can see here some of the little crescent marks from my fingernails when I was sculpting this. And now when I try and create more of those, it's not happening. It's just springing right back. So I think that's probably a good sign that it's actually cured. I wonder if I can sand this stuff. Oh yeah, you can totally sand this. I do say that, like, if I wanted to remove a lot of material, I should probably go with 100 grit. This is 220, so it's pretty fine, and it's getting dull pretty quickly. So if I did want to like fix this lumpy edge, I should probably switch over to 100 grit. Switched over to 100 grit, and yeah, that seems to be the one to use with this material, at least for smoothing it out. Man, I bet I could even use a rotary tool with this guy. Rotary tool I think was a little too aggressive. It looks like it kind of started melting it. You know how like when if you use a rotary tool sanding drum on something that's rubber, it kind of pills up like that. So that's probably because this is like a polymer rubber blend. But hand sanding should take that right back down. I mean, it could be that like the more rigid versions of this material would sand better. Also, it's possible I didn't cure this all the way, even though it isn't leaving like fingernail marks. This was my first try at this process. Yeah, hand sanding it removed that kind of melty bit there. I do think if this was something I was going to use for a costume, I'd spend a lot more time on the initial sculpt before baking and not rely on sanding to clean things up, because it doesn't seem to sand quite as well as something like epoxy sculpt, something more rigid. Since this is more flexible, it does get little fuzzies on it if I'm a little too aggressive. The main thing I wanted to try with this is, since there's a wire in it, can I pose this and will it crack? Oh, that's so cool. My thought is you could have these big ears of whatever character you're making, and that after you make them, you can totally pose the position of where they're going to go. I can feel on the inside, it feels like the wire has separated from the clay, so now the wire is kind of floating around in there. Yeah, you can kind of, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's like the wire's loose in there. But it's surrounded by this rubbery stuff, so it can't escape. Down here, this is where the wire came out, and I can't pull it out. Doesn't seem like it's going to come out, so that's good. And I can now bend this wire to whatever shape I want. That's super cool though. So what I'm thinking about with ears like this is you'd have wires coming out of each side, attaching to a headband made of wire or whatever that kind of goes up over your head, kind of like that. And you could make an attachment that kind of fits in your ear, or I've seen a lot of people who do elf costumes have a wig or their hair where the hair kind of goes over the ear. So you'd have like a little wisp of hair like that, and you wouldn't need to worry about the connection. But this stuff, since it's flexible, you could kind of make like little droopy ears, or make super pointy ears, or have them be different. Have one side kind of be all crinkly and weird. Man, that's cool. So yeah, I'm impressed with this stuff. I don't know if I'm going to be using the other samples for anything anytime soon. I don't know when this material officially comes out. I think it's still in beta testing now, but when it does, we'll probably be getting some just to have on hand. The potential uses for this are many. Like, outside of the cosplay world, you could use this to repair toys for your kids, anything that needs to be rubber and flexible. Like, it's just so neat. I love it.
Hey, I've got a little project of my own going on over here. I'm making a foam head. So this is sort of in progress, developing it. I may rebuild this from scratch. I have some thoughts, but I'll tell you a little bit about what I did here. So I'm making a helmet right now, and having a life cast or a head form to build the helmet on is so helpful. And this is a life cast of my twin brother, looks just like me. And I also have a Monster Maker head over there. This one you need friends, you need a lot of materials to make the head. A lot can go wrong to ruin the casting. It's a little bit challenging. The Monster Maker head is amazing, but it's like 60 or 70 bucks, so it's a little pricey. I figured I could make a pattern for foam, or someone could make their own life cast. I could just sell the pattern for cheap. People could buy it, go get their own foam, make their own head, and use that for making their helmets. So that's what I did. You can kind of see there's lines on my face here. Maybe you can. For me carving this pattern off the face. But I made a tape pattern of my head to get my sort of base form here. And it's okay. I think it's pretty good. I think I can do better though. I will say I did try to do a more detailed version of my face. And it's not terrible, right? Not terrible. But it's a little weird. What if I put the glasses on him? Does it look like me? Kind of. I did try and make a face. It was a lot of work to put this together though, and it's not really necessary for a head form. So I did a little Nicolas Cage, John Travolta, and I did a little face swap. Take his face off. Anyway, that's just sort of a thing I'm working on. It might be in our next video. The helmet I told you I'm working on. It might not be, I don't know. We'll see if I have time to sort of refine this a little bit. But I just thought that was a really neat idea. If you guys think that's a neat idea too, let me know. Or if you have any other ideas to improve or augment something like this. Does this sound like something you might use? A pattern for a head form? Let me know. That's gonna do it for this thing. I'll get back to work on some other stuff. That's just about all we have from the shop today. Just a couple of things we've been working on. I'm kicking off the helmet build for our Mandos this week, which are looking really good. I made patterns for them, so I've got the Boba Fett one here. Whoa, that's bright. And I got the Mandalorian one here. So that's what we have going on this week. We're making helmets, and of course we'll have an update for that on Friday with a little bit of a build discussion video for you. So I hope you're looking forward to that. I haven't done any of the work yet, so we're all gonna have to see how that turns out. But that'll be in just a couple of days. As always, thanks for hanging out with us in the shop today. Really great having a chat with you and giving you a peek at what we're working on. And of course, as always, thanks so much for the support. Really makes a huge difference with everything we do here, and we appreciate it. That's all from the shop this week, and I can't wait to hang out with you again next week, where we have some more shop shenanigans planned. I hope you're looking forward to it. All right, I'll see you then.